Jesus Christ.
Good, good evening and welcome to Real Fellas Talk Sports. I'm your host for tonight. My name is Larry Abels, and I'm joined by an excellent panel of experts. And let me introduce them. First, we're going to start off with a longtime friend, high school classmate, Charles Snowden. How you doing, Chuck?
Hey, Larry, I'm good. It's happy hour Wednesday at 8 o'clock. Can't wait.
Okay. Glad to have you. And we have the loquacious one from the state of Indiana, from Indianapolis, David Burnett. How are you, David?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to the next 45 minutes of excitement and punditry.
Glad to have you. And last but not least, the sports doctor, also known as Go-Go Earl. How you doing, Earl?
I'm doing great, Larry. Looking forward to the show discussing major sports topics with you, Charles, and David Burnett.
All right. Well, let's get going. And we're going to start off with the NFL. And I want to focus on two games, and then we're going to sort of spiral away from those two. So the Bucs and 49ers. David, what did you think of that game?
Well, I think it exposed a few things about the problems with Tampa Bay. And it also highlighted that Brock Purdy is going to create a real problem for San Francisco down the line. But it's a good problem as we speak. I think San Francisco has really moved up to be one of the top teams and is the team maybe the Philadelphia Eagles don't want to face. The Bucs, Tampa Bay, they're fading, but they're still going to win that horrible division. Horrible. And Tom Brady, this should be his last year.
Earl, what did you think of that game, Bucs and 49ers?
I don't think it was much of a game. Of course, I mean, Tom Brady's only 40. He's not only, but he's 45 years old. But I don't think this should be his last year if he gets the defensive offensive line and some receivers that can catch the ball. He's still good to me. His offensive line, their offensive line is worse than Cincinnati's offensive line. Their offensive line is worse than the Commanders' offensive line. I mean, their offensive line is one of the worst offensive lines in the league. You expect a 45-year-old man to carry a team?
Well, it's interesting. Both of you touched on a question I was going to ask. So I asked Chuck, what did you think about that game? And what do you think about Brady's future?
So here's the thing, right? Somebody on this show a couple of weeks ago mentioned that those San Francisco 49ers were coming, and they were coming fast. And this was about 2 or 3 weeks ago. Look, they got the best defense in football. They are, and when they picked up Christian McCaffrey, now that he stays healthy for them so far, they really have a good team, a good balance. And I also believe there was, and we all can say this about all football games, but that game still came down to 5 or 7 plays, turnovers by Brady, a fumble, and so forth. So it's time for the other players on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, here I am being long-winded again, to carry Brady. Why should Brady be the guy that carries them? It's time for some of them to step up. And their running game, Earl mentioned it earlier, maybe it's because of the line, but their running game is terrible.
They carried him to a Super Bowl. How far you want them to carry him?
Well, he was the trigger man. So anyway, I believe in San Francisco. I really believe in San Francisco, and I said that several weeks ago.
What's interesting, none of you thought the question that a lot of people are wondering, has Father Time caught up with Brady? And I noticed none of you really seem to touch on that.
No.
Earl, you think he's still good? David,
He's still good.
Do you hear Father Time's footsteps coming?
Yeah,
of course.
Father Time is eroding his skills. Tampa is on borrowed time, and they need to be looking at the future. Tom Brady can be gone at any time. He's going to be a free agent after this year. He's 45 years. Get over it. If he can still play. Peyton Manning would probably get out there and give you a quarter. Any number of guys can give you a quarter. Tony Romo can give you a quarter or quarters. But what good does it do? You don't have a real future in mind. And it looks like me, Tampa does have a real eye on the future, and they need to move on from Tom Brady after this season.
Hey,
Sure.
David, you might want to go out and come back in. Because there's been some video concerns. So here's the thing. Of course, at 45 years old, he doesn't have a future, but they had 65 yards of rushing. And what happened to Bowles' defense? That defense used to be better. McCaffrey had 130 yards rushing. The third string quarterback was effective. So it's the receiver. Whatever happened to their receivers? So I just think it's not just Brady. It's easy to say that because he had been so good for so long. I just think that the defense is not what it used to be in the running back. The running game is not what it was either.
Okay, Chuck, well, we want to stay with you for right now because you mentioned the 49ers a lot. How do you feel about their prospects going forward, especially with Deebo Samuel's getting hurt?
I know, but there wasn't a break. So meaning he could get back before the season's out. But again, they have so much balance, and they have a very good coach who's creative. They beat Dallas in the playoffs in Dallas last year. And I think it's going to come down to the 49ers Eagles in the NFC Championship game.
Earl, what do you think the impact of Samuel's injury going to be? And just I'll state the latest that I heard. First, I heard it was a high ankle sprain. Then I heard it was a high ankle sprain and an MCL sprain. But they do expect him to be back before the end of the season.
It's a major impact. He's really essential to their offense.
Yes.
He has variety. He can run the ball, put him in all types of formations, catch the ball. A weapon like that, any team's going to suffer with the loss of him.
Okay.
So, let me say this. I think, you guys have been talking offense about the 49ers. The real power of the 49ers is their defense. If they play Philadelphia, if both those teams get to the NFC final, it's going to be because San Francisco has a good defense. Brock Purdy's playing pretty well, but San Francisco is beating teams and staying in games because of their defense. So Deebo Samuel, that's an unfortunate injury from an offensively great player. But if San Francisco's going to be there, it's going to be there because of the defense.
I think they said the other day that Purdy is even hurt, and they might play their fourth string quarterback this weekend or something.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Purdy's going to play.
They definitely have a very well-balanced team. So that's one of the things they have going for them. But, I think it might be a challenge if they have to play Dallas or Philadelphia, who also have well-balanced teams. So, but let's move on to the second game. I had the Dolphins and the Chargers. David, what did you think of that game?
Chargers exposed the Dolphins.
Let me Chuck. What about you?
Let me jump on that. So here's the thing. Again, I don't want to sound like that guy, but a couple of weeks ago, I was concerned about the Dolphins as the schedule was when they started to travel to these cities, especially some of the cold cities. And they too relied a lot on that speed and outside play. They weren't running the ball well. I wasn't a big believer in their defense. And I think we're going to start seeing a little bit of exposure with Miami. And Tua had his worst game. He was 10 for 28, less than 200 yards. So it's really playing out the way I thought it would several weeks ago.
David, Chuck seems a little alarmed about Miami. Now, I know he mentioned cold cities. He wasn't necessarily talking about the last couple of weeks because they did play 2 games in California, in San Francisco, and
I said travel and cold cities.
I understand. And 2 games in San Francisco, but my point is 2 games in California. One team I don't think we really thought they were going to beat anyway, San Francisco.
Right.
Chargers was, maybe that loss might have been a little more surprising. David, what is your overall take on their last 2 weeks?
The Dolphins last 2 weeks or the Chargers last 2 weeks?
Dolphins.
I think they're facing what they probably should have faced earlier in the year. And so we saw a streak of games where the Dolphins looked like they were unbeatable, and now they're kind of coming back to earth. Tua was deadly inaccurate. He couldn't hit anything, and I think one of the concerns about his arm strength, and he floated a lot of passes. He was not accurate. So I just feel like the Chargers exposed the Dolphins, and Tua may have been exposed as well. But Miami is still a good team if they get back to basics. They get back to doing what they can do. Now, will the Chargers be there? Nah, the Chargers are never there. Not when it matters. The Chargers are never there.
Earl, what's your opinion on the Dolphins and Chargers game?
It was a decent game. I mean, I wouldn't have called anybody or texted anybody and said you need to turn this game on. I don't feel that the Dolphins. I'm not quite sure. No, I don't feel that the Dolphins were exposed. I'm not quite sure about that. But what I do know is it seems like the members of this panel, no one in particular, if someone has a bad game, no one can have a bad game with anybody on this panel. Because if someone has a bad game, they're going down. Their game deteriorated. You guys just jump on somebody. What is the Dolphins' record?
8-5.
Okay, that's not shabby.
It's not bad at all.
They're running for the playoffs, but Tua has 2 bad games, and now he.
Well, that was kind of what I was trying to get at. I think with San Francisco, we didn't really expect them to play well against. At least I didn't. Right. But I think having a bad game against the Chargers may have raised some questions in some people's minds. Is this just a one? I'll give him the benefit of the doubt against San Francisco, but he did pass horribly against the Chargers last week. Do you guys think this is just a one-off, or have teams figured him out?
I don't think anybody's figured him out. Let's not forget he's a left-hander, and whether people don't want to stereotype or not, the majority of left-handers are never consistent. The majority of left-handers, they always have some inconsistency.
There haven't been that many left-handers that play quarterback in the NFL.
Well, we're not talking about how many. We talking about I'm talking about left-handed athletes. Period. The majority.
Both of his top 2 receivers are kind of gimpy leg now too. Waddle was hurt going into the last game, and now Hill's kind of limping around. You think these guys can bounce back, Earl?
I think they can. I think they can. I don't think the Dolphins they're not questionable to me. Yes, to answer your question, I think that they can get it together and possibly go deep into the playoffs. Yes.
David, I know you said if they go back to basics, but will they go back? Will they get it together, Miami?
I'm not confident that they will. I'd like to see them do well. I'm a fan of Tua. I'm a fan overall of that team. But I'm being realistic. I'm not optimistic about their long term. Will they make the playoffs? Probably. But what does that mean? They're 1 and out.
1 and out. Okay, Chuck.
So listen, I know the host tonight. I know that he's always kind of this year favored that Dolphin program because he really likes those 2 wideouts. So listen, all I am saying is they don't have a running game per se. Their defense is they're not really that special. And those 2 wideouts are money. And if Tua can get it to those 2 wideouts, they'll take it from there. But that's it. And so if those dudes are not connecting like that, I think it's going to be a struggle with that Dolphin team. I do.
The host is flexible. He'll go by evidence. Early in the season, they beat Buffalo and Baltimore. So,
that's the point. I guess that's the point I make. Early in the season, that team got off to such a great start that we might have started to think that they were a little bit better than they were. And as time goes on, I think that's what we're seeing right now.
Okay.
Here's
a big question. Statistically tied for first place in the AFC North of Baltimore and Cincinnati. David, who wins that division?
Cincinnati. Cincinnati's playing much better. They've gotten some of the problems on the offensive line straightened out. Joe Burrow's playing with great confidence. And Baltimore, it seems like something goes wrong every single week. There are coaching chances taken by John Harbaugh that he probably shouldn't, which is a carryover from last season when he made repeated coaching errors that hurt the team. So I'm not confident that Baltimore is going to be there. Lamar Jackson has been hurt. Tyler Huntley is a good imitation of Jackson, but he got hurt. He got a concussion last week, and he's scheduled to play. But how good is he going to be? I think it's Cincinnati.
Earl, what do you think? Baltimore or Cincinnati?
Cincinnati.
Cincinnati. Chuck.
So I'm wearing a Ravens sweatshirt, and I like the Ravens a lot, but I think Cincinnati is the better team.
Okay.
Right now.
And just keep in mind, they play each other the last game of the season.
They
so
do. That might be for the whole marbles, right? Look, they're 9-4. I mean, they have not looked good this year, the Ravens, and they're 9-4. And they could that could even be better because a lot of teams could play that game. So we'll see how this thing plays out. I was looking at the schedule coming in. They got to play
Bucks, Patriots.
They got to play Cleveland or Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and Cincinnati.
Right.
They could
I'm
beat
sorry, I was
Pittsburgh.
looking at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's got the Bucks, Patriots, Bills, and Ravens. So
the Baltimore could beat Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and then they could beat Atlanta, Pittsburgh, even Cleveland, and we'll see what happens in that Cincinnati game at the end. We'll see.
Okay. At the risk of being accused of being favoring the East by one panel member, actually, I'm gonna pick this division, and I'm picking them because of their excellence. Actually, this year, their record's excellent. So, two teams here, the Giants and the Commanders, are in the wild card spot right now. But there's two other teams breathing down their neck. One is Seattle, who I know David happens to like, and another one is a team from, I guess it's the Midwest, even though it's in the Eastern time zone, Detroit Lions. So we have the Giants, Commanders, Seahawks, and Lions. Only two of those teams will make the wild cards because I'm going to assume that Dallas will be one of the wild card teams. Which two of these teams won't make it? We have the Commanders, Giants, Seahawks, and Lions. Earl, we'll start with you. And I can tell you their opponents if anybody needs to know who they're playing next.
Commanders and the Giants. I don't need to know either one. Commanders and the Giants. Neither one.
Oh, neither one of them will make it, huh? Okay. Chuck, who do you have?
I think the Giants and the Lions will not make it. The Giants and the Lions will not make it.
Okay. Why do you pick those two teams?
Well, I think that the fact that the Commanders and Giants played a week or so ago, 2 weeks ago, and they played to a tie, the Commanders had a week off. So all they've had to do is worry about the Giants for the last 3 weeks total, right?
Okay.
And so meanwhile, the Giants had to play the Eagles. So and the Giants play Washington here this week. So I believe that gives us a leg up. And I think the Giants are fading. I think they're like, I think they're 1-5 over the last 6 games or something like that.
1-4-1.
1-4-1 over the last. So I think they're fading a little bit.
So what about the Lions? Why won't they make it?
They're hot. They're doing well. I just think Tampa, because they have a game up on them now. I just think not Tampa, but Seattle. I think Seattle's gonna squeeze into the playoffs.
So what if I tell you Seattle has the 49ers, the Chiefs, the Jets, and the Rams left, while the Lions have the Jets, the Panthers, the Bears, and the Packers?
I might change my opinion. I might say, and it's funny, David picked the Lions earlier in the year. He thought that was like one of his dark horses. I might pick, given what you just said there with the schedules, I might pick the Lions and the Giants are out.
That's what you Lions and
I'm
Giants.
sorry. The Seahawks and the Lions.
Okay.
Or Seahawks and the Giants.
So it sounds like you think the winner of Washington, you think Washington's going to win, and that'll get them in. Okay, David, which of those two teams do you think won't make it?
Won't make it or will make it?
Will not. Or either way, which other way you prefer?
Well, let me just say who I think will make it. Let's try to be positive. I think the Commanders, Washington football team, whatever we want to call them, will make the playoffs. And the Detroit Lions without the great Jim Caldwell coaching them, will make the playoffs. Lions are on an upturn. The Commanders are on an upturn. The Giants are going down. And the Seahawks, my favorite team, once again, are fading. I think the Seahawks will be over 500, but I think these losses over the next several games will knock them out of the playoffs. I think the Commanders and Lions will be the two teams that make it.
So, Earl, I want to go back to you. You seem to give me some nonverbal communication about some of these picks.
No, I mean, the show has been going great. The pace has been going great. I have not gotten to get and started any trash in this show. I'm proud of this.
I'm trying to listen to your expert opinions.
I know, but I don't want to mess up the show because David and Charles' opinions are different than mine. That's not what this show's about. We're about discussing sports. But I would like to suggest that you guys stop being gentlemen and call whoever's panel name out y'all want to call. You all keep saying, a member of the panel. Well, which member of the panel was saying all the stuff y'all talking about in general?
Well, we heard from one member of the panel who doesn't like the way I'm running stuff here, but I'll try to do better.
Everybody tonight, all three of you guys have mentioned someone on the panel, but nobody ain't never said nobody's name. I don't get that.
I thought we all knew. My bad.
But maybe he raises some points for our thousands of viewers. They may not know where we're talking
that's right.
about.
This week, one of our three people who are watching the show may not know. That's all.
Okay. So AFC. Which teams will make the which three teams will make the wild card? We'll start with you, David.
Wild card, Baltimore, I think will still hold on in there. And I don't like the teams that I selected making the wild card because it's so fluid. But right now, as of now, Baltimore, Miami, and the Chargers.
Okay.
And I'm not confident that any of those three will make the playoffs as wild cards, but as of right now, I think they might.
Interesting, because I'm pretty confident two of them will make it. I guess I'm not sure if it'll be Baltimore or Cincinnati, but I think that's the third one is going to be the challenge. Earl, what three teams in the AFC do you think will make it?
The wild card teams. The Jets will make the wild card.
Okay.
The Dolphins will make the wild card. And possibly the Chargers, yeah.
So you don't think Baltimore or Cincinnati, one of those, you don't think either one of those will lose that many games going on?
I think the Cincinnati will win the division. I don't think they'll win the wild card.
Well, then that would put Baltimore.
I don't think who's leading that division?
They're tied right now.
9-4.
Right.
9-4 records.
Right. Now I don't think Baltimore. I think Cincinnati will win it. I don't think Baltimore will win the wild card.
Interesting. Chuck, what's your pick?
Isn't Jackson still hurt?
Yes.
They might not be back till Christmas.
How they gonna win?
They've already got 9 wins in the bank.
Or do you want me to adopt Huntley as a quarterback like David does and adopt all these lame brain quarterbacks?
No, that's a pretty good.
Huntley's good. Huntley is serviceable. He can't win it.
Some people might think they can win one out of the next 4 games and get up to 10 wins. That would be a good chance of them making it. Chuck, who do you think will make it?
I think Baltimore. I think the Chargers. And I'm like David, it'll be fluid. And maybe the Dolphins. So Baltimore, the Chargers, and the Dolphins.
Okay. So
all you guys are intelligent. I hear Stephen A. say all this. What in the hell does fluid mean?
It could change next week, given who wins, next weekend and that kind of thing.
It's not stable. Not stable.
Thank you, Larry.
So let's if you got we already talked a little bit about a team like San Francisco that has great players, despite the quarterback changing up, and Baltimore is kind of in that situation. So if we had to pick an MVP that was a non-quarterback, who would your choice for MVP be? And we'll start with you, Mr. Burnett.
I got three possibilities. Micah Parsons, the linebacker from Dallas, Justin Jefferson, the great wide receiver from Minnesota, and Christian McCaffrey, who always gets hurt with the 49ers, but McCaffrey's playing really well.
Really
Jefferson is arguably all pro, and Micah Parsons is easily the best defensive player this year.
Chuck, you got a non-quarterback?
Well, I don't disagree that with David really that much. I would add two additional people instead of narrowing it down to just one.
Okay.
And I would throw into the mix Jamar Chase of Cincinnati, even though I know he missed a game or two, and Debo, although I know he just got hurt. But, I like up until this point, Debo and Jamar Chase. I'd throw them in.
Earl, non-QB MVP. Who do you have?
Okay, I just want to, before I say something silly, I just want to think about what I'm saying. Now, you asked me who I think would be MVP candidate.
Excluding quarterbacks. Excluding
quarterbacks?
Right.
Okay.
I know it's hard.
The whole season, I can't think of anybody that I would name, because the names that have been suggested by some of the panel members, none of those guys are MVP candidates, in my opinion. So I guess I don't have an answer for this question.
It's funny though. You know what? That's funny that the sports doctor said that, because Larry, and I know David talks about this, and I understand what he was saying. But when I was looking at that question, it's hard. It's hard to come up with somebody this season that's a non-quarterback that you would pick as the MVP. I found that to be a very hard exercise. I don't know, maybe.
I mean, if you look at some of the candidates of the name, McCaffrey, there's no way that this guy could be named as an MVP
I think it's hard.
candidate this year. There's no way. It's no possible.
I'm gonna push back on that, Earl. Why? Because I look at an MVP as a person who was pivotal in changing the course of a team, who made a difference. Christian McCaffrey has made a difference for San Francisco. Without Christian McCaffrey, they would not be leading the NFC West. That's a fact.
Whoa. Who would be leading? I mean, see, because I'm not sure who's the best player on this.
It would be Seattle.
Debo might be the best player on that team.
But he's another
He
weapon.
might be.
About the best player on the team. We're talking about MVPs of the league.
But see, I thought of that team mainly because it seems like no matter who they play for quarterback, they're very dominant. So they have some good defensive players too that we're not thinking about, because I think everybody agrees. Oh, not a member of the panel. David said they had a great defense. Okay. David correctly stated it. So it's a lot of good players out there. But I was thinking about that, and that team was what really made me come up with that question. And
they've got some great defensive players.
The tight end from the Kansas City Chiefs. There's
another one.
You might be able to throw that guy into the discussion.
There's another one, yeah.
Guys, David has a great point when he talks about some of the non-quarterbacks don't get even considered. He has a great point. I can't argue with that at all. But no one has named anybody, in my opinion, that has been worthy of an MVP.
This is a weird year like that.
The tight end for Kansas City cannot be an MVP candidate. No.
Well, Earl, what I was really trying to get at with the question, I think most of us feel that a quarterback's certainly going to win it. But if we didn't have a quarterback, we didn't, because let's say we had a separate.
I understand the question. Ain't nobody else named is worthy.
So I'll give you a guy that he's had a last couple of weeks he hasn't run that well, but I would say Derrick Henry on his team. When they were like 7-2, I think he was carrying them on his back because they have no passing game.
MVP of the league, the MVP, Derrick Henry, right now, this year.
If we take quarterbacks out of it, I think at one point he was
quarterback.
Yeah, for a while this season, I thought he was running so well. I would have considered him. He was that impactful.
Would you consider him now?
No, he's had a couple of weeks where he didn't really.
So why are we even bringing his name up, Larry? If we talk about
No, I'm just giving you an example of a non-quarterback that I would consider. That's all I'm doing.
That's why I'm saying it's hard. That's because in the past, as David would allude to, the tackle from the Rams, he was a heck of a player. He was very dominant. The running back that you just mentioned from the Titans had been good in previous years, and so forth. But I think this year, it's tricky to single one person out. That's not a quarterback.
Larry, I understand the question. All I'm saying to you is, if we played this tape back and we listed all the candidates that everyone has listed, and you sat there and thought about it, you say, Earl White, ain't none of these guys I would give the MVP to. That's all I'm saying.
I like Devo.
Well, MVP to me.
Non-quarterback. That's what I was thinking. And some of these wide receivers, who did David mention? Jefferson. Yeah,
and the number 10 with the Dolphins. That he's been a big impact on the Dolphins team, the wide receiver.
Not to mention Michael Parsons. I mean, he's good too.
Michael Parsons.
But MVP.
Okay, I'm gonna get you guys to put on your thinking hats. We're gonna leave the NFL and we're gonna act like posters. So what I want this week's top 5 NFL teams. We'll start with you, Chuck. Who do you have?
All right. So, look, we didn't talk about them this week, and that's fine because they've been so good. That Philadelphia 76ers team, Philadelphia Eagles team has had an amazing year, and they're getting stronger. I have Philly 1. I have the 49ers 2. I have Buffalo 3. I have the Chiefs 4. And I have the Bengals 5. And I don't have Dallas in.
Okay, it sounds like he has Dallas in and he just doesn't want to say it. But
no, I don't have him.
David, who are your top 5?
Texans.
In order are the Eagles, and then there's a big gap to number 2, the Chiefs, number 2, 49ers, number 3, Bengals, number 4, Buffalo, number 5.
He didn't have them in either.
Interesting. Earl, who's your top 5?
Eagles, Kansas City, Dallas, Cincinnati. I don't have a 15.
Okay.
How about you, Mr. Abels? Give us your top 5.
I'm not. Okay, I'll do that.
Okay.
If I ranked them, number 1 would be Philadelphia. Number 2 would be San Francisco right now. Number 3, probably Dallas. Number 4, Kansas City. And number 5, Cincinnati. All right.
Before we switch, we talk about these quarterbacks and the money and all that stuff. I think Jalen Hurts gets a new contract at the end of this year, and I think he has played himself into one of those $250 million contracts. I really do. I don't think at the beginning of the year or against how he played against Tampa in the playoffs last year, we would have ever thought a year later.
Hey, right now, as it is, if the season ended today, Jalen Hurts would be my MVP.
Mine too, Earl. Mine too.
He would be my MVP.
Vegas says he's going to be the MVP as well.
It'd be hard to go against him.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can get one of those contracts.
So we're going to swing to
I said I have to say this. I know the market is skyrocketing. Jalen Hurts ain't getting no $250 million contract.
Okay.
And also,
the market determines everything.
What is the sound effect when they said Dallas was one of the top 5 teams?
It was me.
I heard several sound effects. What is that about? If you think
did you see Dallas against the Texans last week?
I saw Dallas all year long. What's Dallas' record?
I don't know. I don't follow.
I think they've lost 3 games. So whatever, something in 3. Yeah.
Are there 5 other teams who had less than 3 losses?
I think it's only.
Well, you didn't include the Vikings, and they're 10-2 or 10-3.
I said, are there any other teams? I didn't say there wasn't.
I'm saying the record doesn't necessarily reflect.
There's only one team that has lost less than 3 games. That's Philadelphia. So.
Okay, but all the other teams have lost more, but they're not better than all other teams. That's what you're saying, right?
Well, sports doctor, I just said that the Vikings are 10-3, and you did not have them in your top 5. So I guess wins don't necessarily mean anything.
Well,
okay, guys, we're gonna move on. We're gonna stay on schedule. We're gonna move on to the NBA. Last night, Warriors Bucks. Now, I normally don't get too excited about a December, January, February game, but sometimes when you have a matchup between the last two champions, I think teams kind of get up for each other. However, it was pretty much a mismatch. You guys have any thoughts about that? Warriors and Bucks, do you think if they play in a series, is this any indication of what'll happen? Will Milwaukee beat them every time? Or win a series? What do you think, Earl?
I think at the present time that the Warriors are just too small. They just aren't big enough. That's all. And that's the reason why the inconsistencies of their play. I mean, you play anybody that has a 6'10" guy on their team, they play bully ball against the Warriors. They have all the shooters and some of the greatest shooters that ever played the game, some of the up-and-coming shooters. Yeah, that's beautiful. They don't have nobody in the paint. And people just doing whatever they want to do with them.
I saw that last night, too. Definitely saw that. And, Chuck, what did you think? And I know Wiggins didn't play, but the guard for Milwaukee didn't play for Holiday. So that kind of I thought that kind of balanced out a little bit.
What's wrong with Wiggins?
I'm not sure. He's missed the last couple of games.
Yeah, playing in a while.
Yeah. And I think Holiday just had a illness or something, like he was sick.
I think they have a 2-11 record on the road or something crazy.
2-12 now.
2-12 now.
Yeah.
And so they haven't played well on the road. And I think the sports doctor nailed it. I think they are smaller. I don't know how that didn't matter in the previous years, but it's just so obvious now. And I think they're softer too. They're just people aren't scared of them.
Wow.
What makes them softer?
They just because everybody just, as Early put it, they just bully that team. They go to the bucket on everybody. It was 8 technical fouls in that game.
Crying
crying. They just didn't look. It just didn't look tough to me.
David,
by the way, Steph Curry is having, I don't know how his numbers shook out last night, but he's having a heck of a year. He's having one of his better years, really. He's shooting the ball really well.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but they can't take nobody. They can't stop nobody.
It's funny.
David, what do you think about it? Milwaukee, Golden State, if they have to match up in the playoffs?
Milwaukee doesn't get enough credit. They are a well-oiled, well-tuned team, and they're going to continue to be. They're better than Golden State. If you just really look at it at team against team, they're better. I think Golden State's problem is not so much that they don't have the size, because size is not ruling the NBA anymore. I think when Golden State struggles like they did 2 years ago, it's often with shooting. And just because one guy is doing well, just because Steph Curry is shooting well, doesn't mean what it used to mean. You got other guys who are inconsistent right now on that team. Klay Thompson isn't Klay Thompson anymore. If they were shooting the way they could shoot all the time, not just Steph, we wouldn't be worried about that. They can't get it done on the road now. Right. I just don't see them repeating. They're fat, happy, 4-time champions. The core of the team that won all those 4 champions is still there. But at some point, you're not going to win everything. Milwaukee's better, period.
They might not even go to the playoffs. They lose to the sorry Pacers now by 20. Golden State's got problems.
They're 14-14. Take it easy.
Okay. Well, look, we mentioned Anthony Davis earlier. Earl, I can't remember who mentioned it, but somebody on this panel mentioned Anthony Davis a little earlier. And Zion Williams, both of them are playing great. Both of them, I guess this is Zion's 4th year, injured his 1st year, played well his 2nd year, injured his 3rd year. And Anthony Davis, he's been kind of injured a lot of years. Both of them are playing great now. Earl, what do you see of those two players? You think that they're going to continue to play as well?
Yeah, Zion is playing great ball. I think they will answer your question. I think they will continue to play well. He will continue to dominate as long as he stops eating chicken and chopped cake and stuff like that. He watches his diet.
Who are you talking about, Zion?
I'm talking about Zion.
Okay.
We don't want to.
You sound like another member of this panel that
Well,
Chuck.
contrary to belief, sometimes David is right.
Wait a minute now. He gained a lot of weight when he had a broken foot. What kind of exercise is he going to do and he's a big guy. I mean, he's not a little guy, A lot of people will gain weight if they had a broken foot, don't you think? I mean, what kind of exercise is he going to do? When his foot healed, he seems like he's lost some weight, doesn't he?
I cannot answer your question intelligently on what kind of exercises he can do, but he could have done something to not blow up to over 300 pounds, Larry. That's all I'm saying. I don't care whether his foot, he could be crippled and he didn't have to gain all that weight he gained.
David, help him out,
Okay, here we go. You know what I'm going to say.
He loves both those guys too.
Yeah, they're two of my favorite players.
Right.
Not. Anthony Davis is an injury-prone player. We know that, and there are just some guys. I talk about this in all sports. Some guys just get hurt. Anthony Davis. I was reading something the other day. It's this kind of thing. It's just coincidental. No, it's not. He does. When you jump up in the air, you need to know where the hell to fall or to place your feet when you come down. Anthony Davis doesn't look down. He jumps on somebody's foot and his ankle is sprained. He's out for 6 weeks. This happens every single year. He's not conscious of his body. He's going to get hurt sometime this year. Yeah, he's averaging 28 points a game. That's what he should have been averaging his whole damn career.
Okay.
I don't believe in him, and I know he's going to get hurt. Zion Williamson, he still needs to lose some weight. I don't care. He's playing well, but he's still too big.
Chuck, you have anything? I
do.
I know. Well, let me ask you one question. Are you like me, and every time Anthony Davis falls, you hope that he gets up?
I do.
He takes a second.
Or anytime he sneezes, I hope, oh God, he's not going to head to the locker room. The other day he walked out because he had a sniffle. Anyway, look, I understand exactly what David is saying. But to your point, though, Larry, which is why we're talking about this, over the last 3 weeks, Zion and Anthony Davis has played better than David's guy, Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's how good the two of them have played. And quite frankly, do you know the Pelicans, without Ingram, they got the best record in the West right now?
And they knocked off the team that was ahead of them twice over the weekend. Phoenix.
The Suns, I don't know what the heck's going on out there, but as we are talking about the Golden State Warriors, but the Suns are struggling too.
Well, they had the best record most of the season till this weekend, and the Pelicans knocked them out. So I don't know. It's interesting. I think that Zion might be living up to the hype. I think a lot of us remember when he came out of Duke, people were talking about him like they're talking about the brother over in France.
Right.
And Ja was really kind of like an afterthought. We thought Ja was good, but Zion was supposed to be the man. Of course, Zion got injured his first year, right, and Ja turned out to be the man. So I don't know. I'm hoping he can stay healthy. I think you guys, some of the panel, not named Chuck, a little hard on him. I think he's a big guy anyway. He's never going to be real small.
I'll tell you what he also did. He's added a jump shot. I saw him in a couple of the during the game. He's knocking down threes.
Yeah.
And people coming into the league, they did not think he was, he could drive to the bucket and no one could stop him. But they didn't think he was a shooter. And I think he's really, starting to develop a little bit of a shot.
Let me push back on a couple of things that have been said real quickly about Zion. Real quickly. I get on him because of his weight. He's 285. Right. Thank God he's not 300. He's still 285 at 6'6" or 6'5".
He's bigger than that.
No. In NBA, they inflate heights. If he's 6'6", he's really 6'5". And I just think if he weighed 250, he would be unstoppable and he would not be prone to injury. I still think he needs to be around that at 6'5", 6'6". That's just what I think.
Yep.
And part of his injuries are related to the weight near 300 pounds.
Okay. We're going to move on to the next topic because I'm going over my 45 minutes now. But we're going to, since we're having fun, we're going to continue.
Hey, Larry, hold on, Larry. Did Anthony Davis leave the game because he felt like he had a flu?
Yes.
A couple of games ago, he had flu-like symptoms.
Sure that I heard that. Go ahead.
He had flu-like symptoms, yeah.
Wow.
Mike Jordan would have stayed in the game and won it.
Well, let's think about that now. You know, I think in the production meeting, I reminded everybody, you know what else has flu-like symptoms is COVID. So we needed to get him away from the bench because it could have been, disastrous, for the team. Brooklyn Nets. Well, let me phrase this properly. I think most observers, and I think you guys will agree that in the East right now, it seems like two teams have really kind of separated themselves. And I'll say that's Milwaukee and Boston. But the Brooklyn Nets have won something like 11 out of their last 13 games. Have they righted this ship? And, will they make a run at becoming one of the elite teams like everyone expected them to? And we'll start with you, Earl.
No, they don't have any size. No.
No size. Same problem as Golden State, huh?
Same problem as Golden State. They can score, but they don't have any size. And I think that they just think they can outshoot everybody. Because I don't see them ever even thinking about playing any defense. The Lakers or the Nets. I don't understand.
Chuck, what do you think about the Nets?
I think we got to keep an eye on them. They have been playing well under the radar. And again, for the last 3 weeks, like you mentioned, they've been 11-2, and they've been quiet. They seem to be behaving. Kyrie seems to be doing this thing. I know that's another one of David's favorite guys. And if they continue on this trajectory, which we know they probably won't, they might have something to say as the season continues.
David, do you think they'll rise up and become a challenge to those top two teams?
I have a 2-letter answer. No.
Okay.
And as long as Kyrie Irving is on that team, I give them no shot to do anything because anything can happen with Kyrie. He will protest something. He will refuse to immunize himself, whatever. He's just a coach killer. He's a bad teammate. No.
So let me be clear. Right now he's playing very well, but you don't think that's going to continue. You think he's going to raise some issue that's going to derail him?
Hasn't he done it his whole career?
All right. NBA. Right now, if you had to vote for your top 3 candidates for this week for MVP, Mr. Burnett, who would your top 3 candidates for MVP be at this point?
Let me just say this. I think I hinted at it earlier in the show. The MVP this year will be Jason Tatum, period. I think there's pressure, unseen pressure on voters to finally pick an American to win the MVP. We've had a non-American win the MVP for 3 straight years. It's not going to continue. Jason Tatum is the leader of the Boston Celtics, leader of the best team in the NBA right now. He's coming into his own.
So give me your top 3. Give me your top 3 candidates.
Tatum, Giannis,
Luka. All right, one American out of 3.
Well, that's right. But this year it's going to be Tatum.
And the other thing, in addition to being American, he's having a pretty damn good year too, right?
Well, but that's my point.
Yeah,
that's why he's my number one. Okay. He's the best player on the best team.
Okay,
and he will be selected as MVP because he's an American and because he's playing the best on the best team.
Earl, who are your top 3?
I agree with the 3 that Dave was selected, but I it's just too early in the season for me to be sure. But to answer your question, I agree with the 3 that David selected. But I don't know how you're going to just sit here with more than half a season left and say that this guy's going to win the MVP.
No, yeah, I'm just talking about.
He can get hurt. He can get in a slump. Anything can happen.
Let's put it this way. Okay, think in terms of if the season were over now,
Okay, well you got it. That's how you need to revert.
I'm sorry, Sports Doctor. I'll try to do better in the future.
Yeah, those three that David picked, you can't even come up with anybody even close to those.
I am.
No, you're not.
Watch.
Charles Snowden.
Okay, so those three, I have the top five. I'm sorry, I couldn't do three because the other two were tied with these three. I would put Ja and Steph in that group. You know, I just said that New Orleans was the best team in the West. They had the best record. They're actually tied with Memphis, and Memphis's best player is Ja, and Ja is the guy that America will go watch. You'll go buy a ticket to see Ja play, and I think that Ja, Steph, Giannis, Luka, and Tatum are those are the top five.
I think Steph having a good year, but he's not reaching the level of the other guys you named before him this year.
Can I say this? I think
Yes.
the one player who none of us have mentioned, but I did mark his name down, that nobody's going to give any credit to because he's on a team that nobody cares about. But he's averaging 31 points a game. That's Shai
Oklahoma City,
Alexander.
Right? Yep.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is averaging 31 points per game. He's at Oklahoma City. Nobody cares about Oklahoma City, but this young man is playing the basketball of his life. If he was with any other team, he would be right neck and neck with Jason Tatum for MVP.
Yeah, I think if his team, has a little more success, he'll start getting it because I'm one of these crazy people that has NBA League Pass, and he does it every night. As is Zion Williamson too. I have to throw that in there. Top five.
It's funny. We've talked about these guys, and none of us, back-to-back two-time MVP Joker, we haven't even mentioned him.
And he's playing well.
I know.
He's still an all-pro.
He's not playing like these guys. Those three guys that David named.
I bet you he's in the top five when it comes at the end of the year. But you know what's happening in the NBA? The one thing that we've noticed about the NFL, they seem to have parity. Look at that Western Conference.
Oh,
it's so many good teams there. Well, all of them are not going to win it, but it is so freaking competitive right now.
We used the word fluid earlier. It's the same thing it's fluid. The West changes.
They're about 13 teams deep.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Because I bet you, I'm telling you, I know what Earl said earlier. I'm telling you, Earl, Steph is having as good a year this year as he's had any year. I mean, I'm just talking about statistically and all that kind of thing. He's had multiple 40-point games. I mean, he usually
wins the game when he usually keeps his team on his back. He wins the games for them.
He's playing really, really well.
He is absolutely.
He is. So anyway, I think those five. I don't think it's just three. I think those five are because I don't know how we can separate Ja out of that conversation. How?
So why do we have Larry moderating, but you're going to change this format? You ask you for three, you got to go. You always have to be difficult, Charles. You always have.
I'm just giving a framework, and we have a little, using the word fluidity here.
There's a difference between 3 and 5. It's not complicated. There's a difference.
Hey, top 5 NBA teams right now. David, we'll start with you.
All right, in order: Boston, Milwaukee, New Orleans, Memphis, and it's hard for me to get a fifth team that's really, really good. Right now, I would say the Clippers.
Okay. Earl, do you have 5?
We're driving Earl crazy tonight.
I'm assuming one of them is not going to be the Clippers.
That's what I think
too. The Clippers are not going to be the first 4 that David named. No problem.
Okay.
So I wouldn't say the Clippers. I'm trying to figure out who would I put in instead of the Clippers. It wouldn't be the Clippers though.
You can look off of my paper.
I'm doing the opposite of Charles. You ask 3 for Charles, he gives you 5. You ask 5 for me, I'm only giving you 4.
Okay, that's all right. We have a framework. So, Chuck, who are your top 5?
The 4 that David said, and I assume he said Boston,
Milwaukee,
New Orleans,
Memphis.
New Orleans, Memphis, And
the fifth one was the Clippers.
Oh no, it wasn't. Oh, I didn't know he mentioned. And oh, I didn't know he said the Pelicans. I only have 4 too. I only have those 4. I don't have a fifth.
You know, a team that nobody's mentioned tonight, and I wonder what you think about is Philadelphia.
Yeah,
I know what Chuck's gonna say.
They've had some injuries. They've had some injuries, but
yeah. I don't know what the situation of Maxey. If Maxey,
he's hurt. Yeah.
If he was not hurt and he was healthy, then that would be
up there.
That would be.
The Nets are 17-12. The Nets are 17-12.
Let's get off the Nets, please.
I know. Well,
the Nets are going to implode at any moment. It could be.
They may live up to. They may finally live up to the hype.
I don't know. Well, they are a Kevin Durant tweet. They are a Kyrie boycott. They are a Ben Simmons failure away from just collapsing. You can't trust the Nets.
I can't believe you. I can't believe you threw Simmons into that.
He's a clown.
Okay. Final category: Heisman Trophy winner. I'm going to read them in order. Williams is number 1. Dugan was number 2. Stroud was 3. Bennett was 4. Hooker was 5, and Young was 6. Any problem with that order? Or is there anyone that you would move up higher in the rankings? Side with you, David. And I know this is painful because it's only quarterbacks. But,
it's painful. You know what? I'm going to tell you exactly what I feel. And you know how I feel. I don't care. The Heisman Trophy is a bogus award. Bogus. All those other collegiate awards that they give away the day before the Heisman, that's where the Heisman should be. It should be one of those awards. And the award that they give out on Saturday should be for the best college football player. And Heisman takes that role, and it's bogus. It's only quarterbacks. The only person that should have been considered for Heisman, in my opinion, and I know you asked me to list or delist the folks on this list here. Marvin Harrison Jr., consensus All-American wide receiver, should have been the Heisman Trophy winner, period.
Okay, so we should have moved him up to number 1. Okay.
We're going to move him completely off the list into number 1 in my list.
Chuck, do you have any suggestions for the order of the Heisman voting?
Hey, Earl, can I give you I want to give you a high five because you and I called Williams maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. There you go. We nailed that.
I remember Earl saying that. Are you sure you said that? I remember you said a whole bunch of people, Hooker, and then
that was weeks ago. That was that's when he was the Heisman Trophy winner. That was week 5, by the way. That was week 5.
But your picks have been pretty fluid. I understand.
But I think Earl and I we were on the Williams. Anyway, I think Williams, I'm okay with the only thing I would change. I just don't think Dugan was number 2. I don't. And I also think that the running back from Michigan, if you include, because they went 5 or 6 deep, I thought the running back from Michigan should have been either ahead of Hooker or ahead of, I think he should have been on that list of 6.
If he hadn't gotten hurt, he would be.
But he got hurt in the championship. He got hurt in the.
No, he was hurt several.
He got hurt in
before that
Ohio State game.
He played
before the Ohio State game.
He played one play in the Ohio State game.
Yeah, he got hurt. He was hurt before that.
Right, but he had 100 yards that game that he got hurt. So that's the only thing. That's the only guy I would have put on the list because Michigan did so well this year.
Earl, how do you feel about the list?
I thought I'd go with Caleb Williams number 1. The rest. They all
right.
I even thought the guy from Ohio State was overrated, Stroud, but I'm rough on people, so you can't go back.
Really? Before we get out, but Earl just touched on something. CJ Stroud, to me, damaged his reputation more than anybody on the Heisman quarterback list. I just think CJ Stroud is not going to be a very good NFL player. I just because he doesn't run, he's not that mobile. for as lanky and long as he is, he's not mobile, and he's not that accurate when all is said and done. I just think he will be a backup at best in the NFL, but he will be expected to play a lot better.
He'll change that entire narrative if he beats Georgia. Is it Georgia he plays? Ohio State?
Yes.
If he beats Georgia in that game coming up, it can change that entire narrative.
Well, he's had a couple of bad games in a row.
So, gentlemen, it's time for our closing remarks. Chuck, do you have any?
Yeah, I just want to touch. Just want to touch on something. Purdue, Virginia, University of Connecticut, Alabama, Houston. Those are the top 5 in college basketball this week. Purdue, Virginia, UConn, Alabama, Houston, and not Duke, UCLA, North Carolina, Michigan State, Villanova, Kentucky, Gonzaga. What is going on in college basketball? We're going to keep an eye on that as the year goes on, and we'll talk about that in maybe more detail in a later show. I think it's quite interesting what's happening in college basketball.
Thanks. David, any closing remarks?
I do. And my closing remark is a nod to a guy that I hate nodding to. Tom Brady. Tom Brady signed football for Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw is a linebacker who intercepted his pass.
For the 49ers.
And Dre asked Tom Brady at the end of the game, this is the 49ers and Bucks game, to sign his football that he intercepted, and Tom Brady agreed to do it. That's pretty cool for Tom Brady. What it said to me also is that we're not going to be seeing Tom Brady much longer, because in other years he would never have done that. It's just, this is his way of saying goodbye.
And wasn't that guy was that his first interception, or was he a rookie or something?
I'm not sure how long he's been around. I'm not sure.
Okay. Earl, any closing remarks?
I just wanted to say some blessings to Paul Silas's family after the death of Paul Silas, and also shout out to Mike Leach's family.
Yeah.
Former college coach of Mississippi State. Paul Silas is a former player and coach with I don't know if he coached with the Boston Celtics, but I know he was a player with the Celtics, and he was a coach. I don't remember which team he coached.
Cleveland.
Yeah, he started. I think he was LeBron's rookie coach
In Cleveland.
Yeah,
He was LeBron's rookie coach. He also played for the Seattle Sonics.
Then he coached. I think he may have coached the Suns too, but I'm not 100% sure.
That sounds right.
That's a good call out. That's a good call out, Earl.
It was. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's all the show we have for this week. Thank you for joining us, and join us again next Wednesday at 8 o'clock on Real Fellas Talk Sports.
Good job, Larry Abels. Good job.
Hey, Charles,
Good
that
job.
man,
Good
check
job,
that
man.
stat on Will Silas coach for Seattle.
Okay.
Later on, after we'll talk after this.
Okay.
I know you're the stat man. I just don't remember Silas coaching for the.
His son is actually a coach in the league now.
And this show's over now, right? So I don't know who's
Okay, I'm sorry. Show's over. Great job, Larry. All right.